from Random Secret Studios all over the Delaware Valley.
I'm the capo. He's the prez.
And this is Sons of Ben,
The
pod. Adam, welcome back to another week of Sons of Ben, the pod, the quarantine chapters. How are you holding up out in your Center City bunker?
So, because the audience can't see, but I've been wearing various forms of hats, and what the fun game about the hats is, I have to wear only adjustable hats because my miniature afro that has been growing since the quarantine has begun has pushed the outer limits of my headwear capacity. So not only am I in desperate need of a haircut, but now I also need more hats because my fitted ones don't fit anymore.
That is way too relatable right now.
It's bad, yo.
It's not very relatable for me.
And jumping the gun is our very special guest this week. So, Adam and Devin.
I have the opposite follicle problem as Adam.
Yeah.
So all the hats are fine containing what I got.
I got
a little bit of Afro Thunder going on here. It's bad. It's bad.
This week we are happy to have Jamie Lynch Jr., also known as or AKA Silent Bro, from various sports radio all over Philadelphia, but currently 97.5 The Fanatic. And wanted to welcome Jamie. Thanks for jumping on this train wreck with us.
My pleasure. Happy to be on. Sorry for ruining the grand reveal there, and I jumped early. I'm a horrible guest right off the bat.
That didn't ruin anything. It just kind of let the spirit of this just go on the way it goes. And in fact, you're probably the first guest to ever jump full born into this. Usually, we get Tim McDermott or the coach Jim Curtin. They're very serious for the first half hour. And then they're like,
okay,
oh, wait, these guys aren't serious at all. And they loosen up. So
Tim went to my high school. He's a great guy. And I know Jim pretty well as well. He lives not far from me in the neighborhood. So he's great dudes.
Yeah, he's not far from me. And Jim's great. We had him on. And then all of a sudden, as we've talked about, he jumps right onto the Cooligans. And now he's a national celebrity all over the soccer world. We're trying to take as much credit for that as we can.
Jim's awesome. Yeah, great Philadelphian. He's great because you can just talk other sports with him. You can talk, obviously, soccer with him. He's just a great dude.
Yeah. So we wanted to welcome you. First, of course, always wanted to check in with you and how your wife, and of course, happy birthday to baby Skylar. How are you guys doing in quarantine?
She's actually, I don't know if there's a video podcast, but she's actually sleeping right there. So first birthday's got her tuckered out. But yeah, we're holding up well. I mean, this is our new weird normal, and I mean, to be honest with you, the only thing I really miss is going out to a nice restaurant and getting a cocktail and a nice meal. Other than that, I mean, outside of people, health-related issues, it's not that bad,
Yeah, listen,
it's weird.
I've said in the past where, our grandparents fought the Great Depression and, and other generations have fought great wars, and we have to fight boredom. So it really isn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Call of Duty helps. The internet helps. There's a lot of good things to kill time.
Yeah. But I mean, for certain things, like for us, we're definitely, union focused and for what you do for a living, very live sports oriented. And that makes it tough because I don't know how much more Bravo I can watch.
I'm pretty lucky. My wife doesn't really like bad TV, like reality TV, I guess I should say. So I don't have to put up with too much of that, which is a huge plus.
Yeah.
It's fun to walk out of the apartment when the girlfriend puts on Keep It Up with the Kardashians and says, I'm calling my friends. So we can live stream it as a group. And I'm like, oh, no.
Oh, I'm out of here.
Oh, God. Where are my largest headphones?
Yeah.
But they will survive anything, the Kardashians. So it's just we have to take a little lesson on how to survive it. You just have to watch that show. It's kind of like I said, Red Dawn and Keeping Up with the Kardashians are filed under educational videos.
Yeah.
But Jamie, I wanted to get into your background a little bit. Like, how in the world? I mean, you said you actually went to a good high school where people like Tim McDermott.
Yeah. Why did I get into?
How
this
did you
crazy
get into
industry?
this crazy world of sports broadcasting?
Ever since high school, when I thought about what I wanted to do, I always thought I used to watch ESPN every morning, SportsCenter. I'm like, that's really cool. That seems like it would be a fun career to have. So I decided I wanted to be a communications production major. Never once thought about radio in my entire life. Graduated with a production degree. I interned at the George Michael Sports Machine down in DC and did some other jobs like that. Really enjoyed it, and After college, I traveled the world a little bit and just kind of was being a bum bartender / world traveler, which was awesome. And I got home finally for good after like 2.5 years. And my dad called me up and he said, "Hey, WIP's doing this intern contest where you can win a job at the station." And I was like, "All right, yeah, why not?" So I called up and they were like, "Ah, we already filled it, but why don't you just be our first backup contestant in case somebody doesn't show up?" And I was like, "All right, yeah, sure." So they were like, "Show up at the studio at 3:30 a.m. Monday. If somebody doesn't show up, you're in." And I'm like, "All right." So I reluctantly did it, thinking there's no chance in hell I get in. Sure enough, somebody didn't show up. So I got in the contest. I actually got fired by Colleen Wolfe of the NFL Network on the Wednesday of that week after arguing my case against another intern. And I had most of the votes, but she still voted me off. I put up a hissy fit and basically stormed out of the studio, wrote a nasty email to their marketing manager, and then Angelo actually called me himself, brought me back into the contest. And then that Friday, I won my job at the station, which meant I was a promotional street team member. I learned how to engineer broadcasts from there. From there, Anthony Gargano took a liking to me. Right place, right time. Ended up producing middays. From middays, I then went to afternoons. After the Eskin show moved on, I was in afternoons for a little bit, and then we had the opportunity to go start the first local morning show at the Fanatic, which I did, I guess, 5.5 years ago now, which is crazy, with John Marks, Anthony Gargano, and been there ever since. And I enjoy it. I really do. I mean, the industry gets a bad rap at times because there's some terrible people in it that give terrible opinions that are, hot take, clickbait crap, which I hate and loathe. And I just like talking sports in a free flowing environment where people can have respectful disagreements. And I love it. It's a new challenge every day to try and be original when you're talking about the same four topics. So it's cool. It's fun. That's how I got my start in the industry. And so far, so good.
Now, see,
Jamie just taking Ricky Ricardo out like that. Jesus, man.
I love Rick.
Wow.
Yeah, Ricky's great.
so the two lessons I got out of that were, if you wake up at 3:30 in the morning, you can get a job at WIP.
Yeah.
And if you throw a hissy fit, Angela will respect you more. That's kind of what I was taking.
Well,
out
I
of
think
that.
he knew I was right. So they put us up against each other to basically debate why we deserved that spot. So I spent the whole night with my father, who's been an attorney, formulating my argument. I wrote down I came prepared. I wiped the floor with this dude. Hugh Douglas voted for me. I think Angelo and Al voted for me, and like Colleen and somebody else didn't. So I won the vote, and rightfully I was pissed. I just got up from the studio. I stormed out. I slammed the door. And then I called their marketing manager, and apparently it worked.
That worked,
Here I am.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, if you were married to Gonzo, you'd be angry in the morning too. So it's probably Colleen Wolfe's excuse,
Yeah.
just to wake
It's
up.
funny.
To that.
I always
She's
bust Colleen's balls because I keep in touch with her, and I'm just like, "Hey, remember that time you fired me, and my career almost didn't happen? Thanks." So yeah, Colleen's awesome. So's Gonzo.
Yeah, no, they are. They're great. It's funny because throughout the world, or throughout this city, it's so small that you do run into people, and Angelo and those guys, Missinelli, all those guys are people that we've all kind of run across through different life paths.
Yeah,
And
my mom's always said that Philadelphia is the biggest small city in the world, and she's right.
It really is, though.
Yeah, it really is.
It really is.
Like, I'm sure, I don't know you guys very well, but I'm sure if we have a beer at happy hour, I'm sure there would be a connection we could make that would be like, "Oh, so-and-so, yeah, and so on.
yeah,
and so
just as an example, in my attempt at a transition is, you and I actually first met face to face at the Whiskey Fest because our mutual friend Sean
Yeah.
Brace. And I was like, "Whoa, I know this guy. Let me get this guy a whiskey. Come here." And then we were emailing just certain stuff.
I'd love to be at a whiskey fest right about now.
Yeah.
Don't tempt me.
Trust me, it's all hand sanitizer fest right now. There's not a lot of whiskey out there. It's just hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
But so we met and we were emailing and give the members an idea of how goofy the sports landscape is and what we do at the Sons of Ben to try to grow the sport. Is I've been pitching Jamie religiously for probably 3 years on a goofy segment called 60 Seconds of Soccer. And Adam, you'll love this. It would be me calling in on, say, like a Monday or a Friday, the morning show, and then I would just talk to Jamie, and him and I for 60 seconds would basically hijack the conversation. So Farzetta and Cooney and back when Trey was there would be like, wait, we have to listen. It's kind
the
of
hell
like
are you guys talking
Goodfellas
about?
where you lock the door and you're like, now you guys can't leave. And
Yeah.
we'd give each guy like, you give Cooney a team. You're like, all right, Crystal Palace is your team because they're owned by that horrible Sixers owner, and you're stuck with him the rest of your life. And then we would just go over their teams. Like you give Farzetta like Bournemouth, somebody like middle of the table
Yeah.
that they're never gonna win, never gonna lose, but
Norwich for everybody.
exactly. So that was so we were trying to pitch that for. I think we started with Gargano and then tried it with
Mhm.
Farzetta, and I mean I'm still gonna keep pitching it, but just
Yeah, it's not me that's the roadblock. It's a tough thing to get everybody to sign off on, because the thing about the industry is it's not necessarily what we want to talk about all the time. Like I would love to talk a little bit more union. It's what the analytics or the data shows us about what people care about and what they tune out to and what they listen to. And basically the data shows if you're not talking Eagles the majority of the time, you're failing the majority of the audience. Which sucks because I mean it's good to know what people care about, but at the same time it's not a blanket thing that the entire area cares about. I'm one where I have ADD personally. Like I'd rather hear 14 different subjects in the course of one show than two subjects beaten down. So, I think there is kind of a little bit of change in the industry as we become a little bit more digitalized and kind of scatterbrained society. But we'll see. It's a slow tide, that's for sure.
And like you've worked in the industry long enough to know it's like when you do a lot of radio, let's say back in like 2012, 2000,
Mhm.
even like 2010, a lot of it you replay it or you rehash the same topics because not
Yeah.
everyone's getting in their car at the same time.
Exactly.
You
Yeah,
know, so
there's so
you're
many
like,
people. You have to assume, I mean, basically, from all the radio analytics and, upper management that give us this stuff, it's like basically the average commute to work is 25 minutes.
yeah,
And, we work off of more or less that. And it's like you kind of have to keep resetting and resetting and bringing it back because you never know who's getting in the car at any given time. So it's a tricky balance. But for sure, if I can barely get the Flyers talked about,
yeah.
the union's going to be tough.
And it's
Oh
like
yeah,
now
and same
with
with
this era
Premier
of
League or
podcasts we
Bundesliga. You're
have.
like, how are you going to cover this sport that
Yeah.
your traditional 4-for-4 people
Mhm.
haven't adopted yet, and you don't know
Yeah,
if
and
they ever
Adam, you're
will.
right. I mean, in the age of podcasts, if somebody wants union information, they can come to you guys. If they want Flyers information that they're not getting on the radio, there's another platform for it now.
Yeah.
So, it's a great thing that there's so many options for people now.
Do you feel like you have to change, like as the on or as producers? Do you feel like you guys are a talent? You have to change how you do a regular radio show now because you know a good chunk of what your show is going to be either simulcasted or podcasted in a way where someone's going to listen to the whole thing and not just the bites that you're used to. Have you seen a shift in that, or is it still kind of the same?
A little bit of a shift, but there's nothing major has shifted in that way. Like it's still we have more data and more analytics about what people care about when they tune in, when they tune out, that type of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But it's not like a major shift. You still have to play the hits, as they say in the music industry.
Yeah.
So the hits mostly for us are Sixers and Eagles. So if you're not at least weaving in and out of that throughout the show, you kind of are told you fail. Unfortunately, advertising and capitalizing on the most amount of people listening at a time is the end goal.
Yeah.
Not exactly what we want to talk about each time. So it's a fine balance. I think there should be a little more change than there has been. But obviously, I'm not an advertiser or salesperson that's paying my salary, so I kind of have to, play the game there a little bit.
Feel you.
So I guess my question is with the analytics. Then what's the feeling of the necessity of always having the Mitch from Manayunk or the Ronnie from Roxborough constantly
The
calling?
repetitiveness of
Oh,
callers.
just because I know I will flip a channel is if I'm in my car as
Yeah,
soon as a certain
you're not
caller
alone.
comes on, you're like, you got to be kidding me. I'd rather hear the host bitching about the second round draft pick than, this guy.
You don't miss Mitch from East Windsor.
Oh, we'll still call occasionally.
Mitch
Don't
from East
worry.
Windsor.
Oh yeah. It's weird because like every show's different. Obviously like the Mike Missinelli show relies more on callers than we do in the morning. I think in the morning you have to be a little more waking people up, not beating down the same topics. So we have a little more freedom to be a little more spastic in topics. So we're not caller driven per se. Like the three of us enter the show every day going, all right, we can knock out 4 hours easy with what we've got, what we've prepped. So we don't need callers, but at the same time, the medium exists because it is talk radio and it is a community type of thing where people can join up and share opinions, differing or awful, whatever they may be. But the numbers are less than 5% of all sports radio listeners call. So when you think about that, it's kind of crazy. And then you have your guys that will call almost every day. And, there's a lot of times where I have to tell people, like, it depends. The old station, we used to have a policy where it was you had to wait 48 hours before you could get back on. The new station doesn't per se have that, but we try to kind of follow something similar. But it's impossible to know when Mitch and East Windsor's called. If I take him in the morning and then Tyrone's in the afternoon and he calls back, Tyrone doesn't know that he's been on in the morning and therefore he could get on. So it's a cycle. But it's a small minority of people that actually call. So it's tough. It's a delicate balance.
Yeah, well,
because you need them and you want them at times, but you can't go too heavy with them.
No, because as a frequent listener, you're like,
Yeah,
these guys want
because the 95% of people like you are hearing the same people, and you're like, what the hell, man?
Yeah, and I don't want to call in because I don't want to be associated with that guy.
Yeah, so it's a weird thing. It's a fascinating industry. It's weird.
Yeah, we saw. I mean, we describe our Sons of Ben membership the same way because Adam and I were on Missinelli's Philly Feud where we, where we whooped up on Latu and Matt Freeze, Harvard grad my ass. But and then Farzetta and Gargano and everybody, they were on with Booney afterwards, and they were doing a show against the callers. And in the Chester Casino, I could still pick out the four guys that were frequent callers of 97.5.
Yeah.
All really great guys, don't get me wrong, but you're like, you can tell this is kind of like the carnival just popped into town, and here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got egos too. That's the best part.
Yeah,
they get like egos and personas, and they're just like, no, I am Mr. East Windsor. Like, what do you mean? I am the original. Like,
it's funny. I've become friendly with a lot of the guys, and I've golfed with Dustin and Willow Grove before, and some other types of guys.
Please tell me you won.
Dustin's a pretty good golfer. I got to give him his credit, man. He's pretty good. I think he beats me every time. But it's funny. You form relationships with these people. It's pretty wild.
Oh yeah, we compare that to being in the Sons of Ben, where we always go back to that old analogy. Oh, it's like family. It's but it's true. It's like Adam and I are completely different age groups, different areas of the city, but and Devin, we just met Devin because he volunteered for this stupid experiment that we're doing. And, we'll go out and have beers and have a great time. Where if it wasn't for something like the Sons of Ben, I don't know where our paths would have crossed or if we would even talk, So
one of my buddies, Corey Furlon, I know is a member as well. So yeah, it is. I mean, even when you have your crazy uncle over for dinner, you still know he's the crazy uncle. Doesn't mean you don't like him and love him. It's families are weird, and that's basically what all these groups are.
Now,
me and Matt would have easily met at the Overwatch League playoffs in Philadelphia.
Yeah, without a doubt, I would have been standing outside with a garden hose saying, "Get off my lawn, you damn kids."
No, obviously, you would have been decked out as Fusion Gritty, which is a real thing. I just wanted to point that out.
Is it really?
Yeah, so technically the Comcast and the Flyers own the Fusion. So Gritty comes out for their like pregame hype and all that stuff. Like when they had their home stand at the Met, they had all these people in the stands, and Gritty comes through the crowd
with a Fusion jersey.
But with the Fusion jersey on. But there's also a dude who literally just dresses up as like how we have Philly Elmo. We have like another rundown version of Gritty who just shows up to Fusion matches, and he's Fusion Gritty.
That's going to be our next guest, Adam. That's who we need.
Yeah.
Book him.
Philadelphia is so weird. It's great.
Book him.
I actually saw Alejandro Bedoya put out a tweet last night. He said, I heard this racket outside my window, and he went outside, and it was Philly Elmo playing the instruments, and he said his kids loved it.
As a person who lives on Broad and South, Me and Philly Elmo are very well acquainted with one another, but I love
my
that.
daughter loves Elmo. I can't wait to run into Philly Elmo.
Well, I'll warn you, the
Uh,
Philly Elmo smells exactly like the Philly Fanatic, so you might
Oh.
want to keep your distance a little bit.
Yeah, the Fanatic is
Oh
terrible
yeah,
smelling.
it's the worst, man.
Look,
Yeah.
as a personal friend of Fangs, he's also not the greatest hygiene going on there
These
either.
Yeah,
animals really got to bathe.
Yeah,
I don't know what's wrong. He's a reptile too. I figured that shedding the
Yeah,
skin would
it's
help, but
true.
no.
but no, it's speaking of bad choices, bad decisions. Uh, Jamie once told me how he became a Man City fan. So I was going to try to get him to get
Yeah.
an idea of how he got into soccer, because he is one of the few guys on sports radio that you will hear talk about soccer, the Premier League. He'll throw a couple things out to the Union before somebody comes overhead and goes, "Get back to the Eagles." So I just want
The
to get a background
overlords
of the
come in and
story,
say,
because I
"What?"
remember it was
Yeah.
you kind of tied a guy like T.O. into this individual.
Yeah, so I grew up playing soccer. I always loved soccer. When I got to high school, for whatever reason, I stopped. I played lacrosse, and I guess maybe that's soccer spring. Yeah, so the seasons overlapped, and I just fell off. But I always loved the sport. I never really watched it. I never watched EPL growing up. I never really knew. I would watch the World Cup, but like, we're so spoiled in this day and age. You can get the BN network and go check out Bundesliga. Like that stuff wasn't available when I was a kid, so I never knew to follow the EPL. So it was actually the World Cup. I want to say, was it 2012? I want to say it was 2012, and it was the Mario Balotelli first World Cup where he kind of went ham. And I was going to my buddies. I was with my buddy Dave, and we flew out to Minneapolis to my friend's wedding. And we were at a bar, and we were watching the Italy match. And he had this one play where he took it like basically the entire length of the field, just beasted out, and like ripped one top right, ripped his shirt off, and showed like his 8-pack. And he had the mohawk going. And I was like, holy shit, this guy's entertaining as hell. I was like, I like this guy. I like Mario Balotelli. So I was like, all right, you know what? I started playing FIFA a lot at the time. I got back into FIFA. And that was the big gateway, honestly. Like, that's when I started learning the players, the country of origin, what clubs they played for, understanding Champions League and stuff like that a little better. So my fandom started to grow from FIFA. And I was like, all right, screw it. I like Balotelli. I'm going to back whatever team he's playing for. So I find out he's on Man City. I buy the jersey. I commit. They had what's his name, Carlos Tevez at the time, and a couple other guys. And I was just like, damn, this team's fun as hell. Now I didn't know that they were an evil, cheat-based, terrible ownership group at the time, or that they were considered the Yankees of the EPL now because of the money. I didn't know all that. I just came in blind with Balotelli, and he, as I told you before, he kind of reminded me of T.O. with that flair, and he just kind of took over the camera, and I liked him a lot. So that's how I became a Man City fan.
I didn't know Josh
The only
Harris
person
and
on
Wolf
this
Blitzer in
pod-
Man City.
The only person on this pod who actually follows anything close to a wholesome club is Devin, because he follows Hotspur. Because they're just yeah, they don't actually spend money, so they're just like, no, we don't have tycoons
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like Saudi oil
Oh,
money
you guys don't have
backing us.
Sheik money?
No,
Oh, that's a
no.
shame.
Me and
What?
Matt as
What
Chelsea
is that?
fans are like, yeah, our owner's not allowed in the country. So
What are transfer fees? I don't know what those are. Can we talk about this?
If you would just get into
It's like,
some
so you could
illegal
buy
activity, Devin, you
players,
could
is what
find
you're
out what
saying.
that's like.
Yeah, so I've gone out to some like EPL watch parties with some buddies and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, you're a Man City fan, huh?" And I'm like it's got like this stigma now, and I'm like, dude, I didn't know 10 years ago when I was getting into this. I just liked Mario Balotelli.
I know it's funny.
My
We have a
answer for
friend.
my Chelsea fandom
Oh.
is always, it was Didier Drogba. It was
Yeah,
he was just
exactly.
it was King Drogba. What was I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Not follow Chelsea? Come
Yeah,
on now.
exactly. Somebody's got to get me into it, and it was
Exactly.
Super Mario for me.
Yeah, exactly.
There you
And he's probably out doing sit-ups in his driveway right now, but nobody can
Yeah,
see.
exactly. I don't follow him as closely anymore, but by the time he left, I was already fully committed with the gear and everything. I had watched, enough of the games where I was like, all right, I didn't realize players really change teams like every 2-3 years here. So I guess I'm committed to the team, not the player.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
You missed
well,
the
it's the
Balotelli to the Union hashtag
Yeah,
that we
it's
had
a
going for a
I love
couple of
that
weeks
river.
there.
That would be
it's
great.
the sponsor on the front, not the name on the back you support. So,
Exactly.
yeah, there has been Mario watch throughout Union Twitter ever since Ernst Tanner said he was looking for a player like Balotelli, but everybody took the like and said he's gonna go get him. And we're like,
I mean, you'd have to assume he's probably going to end up in the MLS at some point, right?
oh,
Pretty soon.
I would think so. I mean, and I tell you
I
what,
mean,
just
talk
for
about a resurgence of fame coming to America. You know, he would get a lot of attention.
and it would bring a lot of attention to the Union if we were able to. I don't know if it
Yep.
would be a great move for the team on the field, but my
Mhm.
God, butts would be in the stands, and it would be. Yeah,
Yeah.
we might actually get 60 seconds of soccer on 97.5 The Fanatic.
He's an entertaining character, that's for sure. He's no Zlatan, but he's
Yeah,
fun.
exactly. Now I think Devin, we've got to let Jamie go, and then we can handle our news and everything. Does that work?
Yeah, that'll work.
Get
Yeah.
into the real Union stuff without
There
me.
you go. Hey man, Jamie, thanks a lot for coming in. And I tell you
Yeah,
what,
my pleasure. Thanks for
when
having me.
we're allowed to back in to have people in the stands, we got to get you in the.
Yeah, I definitely got to make it down. I always come down at least once or twice a year, but I never have made it out to the tailgate. So
Yeah, we'll have you for the
I got to make that
tailgate.
happen
Well,
next
and
time.
and Farzetta's cousin is a Sons of Ben member, so we can
Okay.
make it a whole
Nice.
show thing. We'll explain to Bob Cooney that the round ball doesn't go in the little circular basket; it goes in the
And that
rectangular
new
net.
brewery down there,
Yeah.
Larimer.
Oh yeah.
I know the guy Matt that owns it. His girlfriend's Marissa Magnata from Preston and Steve. So they've invited me
wow.
down there before. So that's a good spot too.
It's a great time, and it's probably for someone that appreciates sports in Philadelphia, the only Ring of Honor inductee in the Union, Sebastian Latou, is a
Mhm.
regular at the Larimer before and after games.
Okay.
So it's
Nice.
like having Mike Schmidt walk into,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
old
yeah.
McFadden. So yeah, it's a
You know what I always thought would be the best idea for the Union, and it's expensive and not easy, but if they had some kind of dock where they could run a ferry from Philly to right there,
Oh my god.
holy shit, that would be incredible.
we have been talking
Like
about
if you
that.
could tailgate on that and like make that a party, that would be
Oh my
wild.
god.
Let me tell you, I've had conversations with the Ben Franklin and the Spirit of Philadelphia about that, and the team has. There's just no way to safely dock there because we have literally talked about that for years. How
I mean,
cool
I
that
know
would be.
dock building's expensive, but
No. I was
come on,
like,
Tim, let's pull some strings here.
I know you can
do
get
we
some of
want
that Buffalo Bills
BP or
money.
do we
You
want
know?
a doc?
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. It was a lot of
Hey,
fun.
thanks for jumping on, Jamie, and happy birthday to
Yeah, good to
Skylar.
meet Devin and Adam.
Nice
Thank you.
meeting you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man.
All right.
Thank you.
See you. Thanks. So yeah, wanted to thank Jamie Lynch Jr. for hopping on in time. He was going to come on for the whole show, but his kid turned 1, and that's a big deal. But no, I wanted to thank him for taking time out of his day because we're always now recording live from all kinds of weird times and days during everybody's schedule. So wanted to thank him. Glad he gave a shout out to the Larimer because we wanted to again talk about the beer of the pod, which is all 3 of our brewery sponsors. Yards, the Larimer, and today I'm actually taking a little road trip to go to 2SP to grab some beers. But just want to remind everybody that you can pick up beer from them. You can online order. They're delivering. So just try to support some local businesses that are there for us.
I have a lovely Philadelphia Pale Ale waiting for me right after the pod. So, representing all of our lovely sponsors there. And also, watching Matt physically triple fist right now is something of a joy, especially with cans. It's really hard to hold 3 cans at once, but he's hulked 2 in one hand and it's got 1 in the other.
Yeah, at least I don't have to have that beer helmet. I want to avoid having that thing, with the straws.
I'm sorry,
and
why are
everything.
you trying to avoid one of the greatest inventions in mankind?
Well, because I'm starting to think about making a Camelback that attaches to your face mask that you could just drink the whole time you're in quarantine. Patent pending.
I mean, can I bring this to the river end?
I
when
did it with
the
a scarf
time
once. I'll show you that
comes?
design sometime.
We've got some things to discuss, my friend. We've got some things to discuss.
Now, speaking of drunken union behavior, little Sons of Ben news: the Union Zoom, drunken Union Zoom, has been going on by a couple Union fans, Sons of Ben board members, and they're going to do another meeting this Friday. And last week was pretty interesting. Adam and I attended, along with people from Views from a Bridge. Media like Kevin Kincaid and one Jonathan Tannenwald was on. So I'll let Adam talk about it a little bit. Now everyone's expecting producer Devin to hop on, but this Friday, 7:30
The real
p.m.
celebrities, man.
On a Zoom channel near you will be a bunch of people passing out on their sofas and talking Union and Sons of Ben soccer.
People want to people want to know the man behind the soundboard, and right now it's technically me, but it's usually Devin, and I think Devin's got to hop on to the next
The
one.
main issue with this is
Your
I'm
child.
working night shift right now.
Oh, that'll do
So
it.
listen, I get out of work at 11 o'clock at night. If you guys are going at 11 o'clock at night, I'm probably way behind as far as drunkenness goes. So
There might have been
Me
some
and Matt
people on.
might.
I pieced out around 9 something. I think closer to 10. I was amazed.
I
I
was
was on
on for
that
a
long.
bit. I was on for a bit, but it was fun when once Jarrett put the blanket over him and laid down on the couch. I was like, oh yeah, it's time. It might be time
yeah,
to wrap
it's
this one up.
usually a good time.
Yeah,
He was a trooper, but it definitely seemed like he went hard to start, and the finish was not as he was ready to crash. I
No,
think in the
he
final
needed an
figure.
El Seno substitute to come in for him.
Right. He went 65, man. He went 65, and I appreciate him for that.
Exactly. So yeah, that will be happening this Friday. So check Union Twitter and Union Facebook to find out if you're interested. Email me and I'll get you the link. If you can spell my last name and email me, you deserve the link.
We're gonna try to do this ESPN style. I saw Katie Nolan, Mike Golick Jr., all of the personalities, the younger personalities in ESPN. They all went into their phones and they were just like, "Who is the most interesting person that we can just invite to this Zoom call right now?" And last week we got Jonathan Tannenwald in there. I mean, look, I don't know if you guys are journalism nerds like myself. However, this guy, in terms of sports in Philadelphia, is the truth. Between his knowledge of Big Five/City Six basketball, soccer, internationally, locally, it is unmatched. So to have his mind, to pick his brain for a while about some of the topics, about some of the things happening in the city right now, was a treat. I literally, I was like one of those kids. I had my face on my hands. I was just like looking at him longingly. I had my eyes were aflutter. It was intense. I enjoyed it.
And it was unfiltered. It wasn't, an editor over top of him holding back his opinion in print. It was unfiltered and Kincaid. So no, it was fun. I'm looking forward to that. Now, there's not a lot of Union news, but I guess we should wish the captain, oh my captain, a happy belated birthday since yesterday was his birthday. So happy birthday, Ali Bedoya. Happy birthday, buddy, and can't wait to get you on the pod. And I feel for anybody that's got a birthday during this. Like what is that like?
Hi. Remember when I did a pod on my birthday too?
Yeah,
It was a
that's why I
pod
brought it up.
in a quarantine on my birthday. No, it's look, man, and it was my 30th birthday too, so it was a whammy of like people apparently take these birthdays seriously. I've never been one to, but to not be able to like, I had to talk to 70 people on a Zoom call. Actually, you know what? Birthdays and quarantines are more stressful because you're in one spot. People can pinpoint you, so like, and they know you ain't busy, so they're gonna call you and they're gonna bother you, and you can't. There's no excuse you can give. There's no like, I gotta run, my friends are getting me shots, or I gotta go, I got dinner. It's like, no, you're in the house, you're by yourself.
Yeah, you ain't going nowhere.
You ain't going nowhere. So everyone calls you. So for the entire day, you can't even get comfortable. You can't even really start drinking until like an appropriate hour because like grandma's gonna call you at 6:30, and you're just like, I can't be slashed for that. I mean, come on now.
There's the most introverted aspect of a birthday in quarantine.
Look, man. I'm just saying, there's benefits to the birthday, which is people let you do what you want, and sometimes it is to be left alone.
Yeah. Now we do have some. I don't know if is it good news? Is it just news? Are we reading too much into it?
It's news.
But so a couple things are happening now that you're like, oh, we might see some sports in our near future. So it looks like in locally, New Jersey and Pennsylvania are both opening up parks and golf courses Friday, Saturday, respectively. Um, there's debate on the Premier League of when they're coming in. So players don't want to play during the coronavirus, but then there's teams like Chelsea just called back every member that had permission to go overseas to quarantine in their home country. They called them back and like, we'd like you back in England by May 3rd. That way you can have a 14-day quarantine period because, and you read between the lines that there might be Premier League within 17, 18 days that they would start practicing again. So there seems to be maybe some glimmer of sports coming back, but then there's other glimmers like PSG was just crowned champions of the French league without finishing the league. So there's that.
I have to ask this question. I'm very serious about this question. If Liverpool had already secured the title, would the EPL come back?
I'm gonna go with no.
I would say
Because
yes. And go ahead.
I feel like they'll probably try to play like 4 more games, so Liverpool could take the title,
Yeah.
and we'll end it there.
And better question, if it was like a normal, not normal, like not to disrespect Liverpool, but if it was like Man City or Man U or like Chelsea up for the title, would they just not have automatically gave them the title? Because it's or would they have scrapped the season, knowing that those teams have already won? Like I'm literally thinking the EPL is doing this solely because Liverpool is in this really unique spot.
Here's
and
where
there
I'm
will
going
be
to
a riot.
Here's where I'll
otherwise.
disagree with you, and I'm going to quote one of your favorite philosophers of all time. Cash rules everything around me.
Oh man, when you hit me with I mean, you did come out with the greats there.
Yeah, so I think because TV deals and all the money that's involved with this, that they don't care about Liverpool winning the league. They don't care if the Little Sisters of the Poor were coming out of like the third division to win the league. They're like, we need the money, and that's what I think is going to motivate that. Just like it's going to motivate any of these sports, because think about it. In reality, the safest thing to do is not have any sports. Don't have people in stadiums. Get through this. You take a timeout for a season, but because there's so many dollar bills, y'all, in this, that they're going to try to somehow fulfill those TV contracts.
They're the third richest league on the planet, though.
No,
like,
but Tottenham isn't.
No, it's not Tottenham. But like,
Hey, listen, there was a report the other day that Tottenham, I'm pretty sure it's just because of the stadium, but Tottenham have the most net worth out of all the Premier League clubs. But look where that's got them.
because you don't buy players, so you don't spend money.
Yeah,
so when you hold all the money, your net worth increases.
It's also one of the reasons the Union haven't
homegrown.
Yeah, the Union haven't had to take pay cuts because they don't have a $10 million player sucking up all that money. So
You are the Philadelphia Union of the Premier League. I really hope you realize this. That is,
I'm fine with that.
I mean, it's good. It's not a bad thing now because I believe the Union are now going to stay at the upper echelons of MLS because of this system is now working. But yeah, you guys don't buy anybody, so of course your net worth is good. It's also that giant toilet bowl you guys play in.
Yeah,
said it.
And I think you've got a
Not
Wahlburgers
one
in there, so they're
Tottenham
just getting
person
that
has
hamburger
argued
money.
on that point. Not one person from Tottenham has said that does not look like a toilet bowl. So there you go.
Now, speaking
It
of
not.
Tottenham, I mean, this is breaking Tottenham news, Adam. Did you hear Devin's favorite manager, the Punch, is going to be working for the Saudi government?
All right.
Oh wait, I'm sorry.
Wow.
That's Newcastle. He's rumored to be going to be the next manager of Newcastle. I'm sorry, Devin. I thought he was going to be the ambassador of the Saudi government. He's going to work for Newcastle.
And he still should be the manager of the Tottenham Hotspur. They panicked and they got Jose Mourinho.
Yes.
And this is what you get when you get Jose.
They got the special
And
one.
you know what? He came out this week, and I think every Tottenham fan was like, yes, because he came out and was like, I think one day, eventually, I'll be back at Tottenham to complete what we didn't get to do. And it's like, that's a fucking manager that loves the team. Like, you love the fucking team. And
He's almost scorned because it's like he's like, I'm sorry, I took you guys to a Champions League final.
yeah,
and y'all just
the
gonna
way
fire
he
me?
got sacked and he still wants to come back, like, just bring him back.
It reminds
Fuck
me.
Mourinho.
It reminds
Bring
me
him
of Letou right before when they traded him the first time, and he's like standing in that bar, and he just looks so like I don't want to go. I don't know why they did this. This is really upsetting to me,
Yep.
and they should fix this. And that's Pochettino just like you guys. We were this close, like to being the greatest team, literally in Europe, and then you just yanked it all away.
But we lost a few games, so and then Mourinho came in and we still lost games. So
in a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon here, it's basically Jerry Krause and the '98 Bulls, where it's just like no matter what happens, we're firing Phil Jackson after this season. I don't know what to tell you. Like we could win the championship, we're still firing Phil Jackson.
Oh man, you had to bring that up. That's been another Sunday night mission I have to watch all the time.
There's nothing else to watch, mate. Like, you're acting like we have this smorgasbord right now.
Listen, I've watched. First of all, the Sunderland series was great.
That was great. I actually
I
finally got
think,
around to that.
and then also there was a another one that came out this year called The English Game. I don't know if you've
It
seen
was
that. It's on Netflix.
Downtown Abbey Met's
It
History
was.
Channel.
Okay. Here's my thing. If you're not watching it for the soccer accuracy of the like, it's not the
You're not watching it for the
actual
acting
soccer
either.
play you're watching.
Then why
I
am I
think it was a
watching
pretty good.
What was
pretty
that?
good.
What was
It's
I
not a
watching
10.
it for?
It's not a 10. It's a decent watch.
Man, I have a sliding scale now for pandemic viewing because it's just like the ones about. Because here's the thing, I'll be real with you. Tiger King is something I would probably not have watched if it wasn't for the pandemic and everyone was hyping it. But it is obviously on a pandemic scale a 10, and a non-pandemic it's like a 7.5 at best. But I'm going to tell you this right now: the English Game on the pandemic scale is a 4, and
Wow.
when it's not like I'm a person who's starved for a good, like even a drama around sport. But Jesus, man, that thing was just.
Wow.
He was right. It's Downton Abbey with a little bit of
All
kicking.
right.
The Tiger King, I'm glad I experienced it. I have fond memories of it. The English Game, I wish I blacked out during. I watched it. I kept watching it, but I'm going.
All right. Is there any of our listeners here that agree with me? Let me know
I'm sure
because
you
I
got
don't
like
know.
3.
There's probably 3 of us.
I'm
There's
sure.
3 of
Yeah, I'm
us.
sure the producer of that show probably listens to us and is going to say, "Yeah, it was great, mate."
It was awesome. No, honestly,
It wasn't awesome, but it was a decent watch.
Look.
If you're whittling down on things to watch,
I'll agree with you. It was a watch.
fair. And no, it's if you're whittling down to things to watch, and you've literally watched every soccer-based piece of media, including Shaolin soccer recently, then I would go watch the English Game.
Listen, The Karate Kid
Bend it
was a
like
better
Beckham.
soccer movie than The English Game. Okay.
So real quick, they were talking about the movie Happy Gilmore, and someone wanted to argue that Happy Gilmore was partially a hockey movie as much as it was a golf movie, because the first quarter of the movie was specifically about hockey.
What did he use as a putter, Adam?
A hockey stick.
Yeah, so it could
Is
be
it a
valid.
hockey
It could be
movie
said
or is it a golf movie?
it's more golf, but there's some hockey overtones to it.
See, like for me, the Mighty Ducks movie is a hockey movie with some, like, depending on which Mighty Ducks is either classism, urban gentrification, or geopolitical ties into whichever Mighty Ducks it was. Like D2.
You're now getting into the X's and O's of movies.
I'm just saying,
and
look,
listen.
D2, Mighty Ducks, us fighting the Icelandic people felt really geopolitical in that. And then when they go to boarding school, that felt like classism right there. I'm just saying, look, they were tackling multiple levels in these great movies.
What about the fact that is it the goalkeeper is on meth or
Goldberg, yeah, who's the Philadelphia representation too. So we want to keep it on brand. Goldberg.
so you're basically saying it's Kensington Goldberg calling on line 1.
All I'm saying is the first part of the movie where Gordon Bombay shows up and is really about not coaching these kids. Goldberg wants to let him know that him and his folks are moving back to Philly soon, and then he never moves back to Philadelphia. But always wears a Flyers jersey throughout the series.
We have gotten deeper into the Mighty Ducks franchise than even Disney has with naming a team in Anaheim after them. This quarantine is really taking effect.
Paul Correa was the truth. I actually wanted to talk to Jamie about the fact that he said when he was getting into FIFA, I was like, that's hot. That's kind of how I got into the NHL. Where like I went to a couple of Flyers games as a kid. Like I went to a couple of playoff games like '98 where the Flyers were playing the Penguins or the Rangers. And then my mom bought me a Lindros jersey. But what got me into the sport was like I got NHL '99 and I just learned everything. Like I just became a savant through all of that. And I was just like, yeah, Sergei Fedorov is the truth. What do you mean?
So we've learned that Adam likes video games. That's a new revelation.
Do you want to know the Overwatch League schedule for the Fusion coming up?
Yeah.
No Overwatch gritty, we really don't. I just want you to become Overwatch Fang.
Oh my God!
We
please
could
no.
get some money
Don't
up to
tempt
get
me
you
with
like
a
a
good time.
Fusion
fusion
Fang.
fang.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Fang?
fusion fang
That's
would
got to
be.
happen. It's got
Don't
alliteration.
don't tempt me with a good time, my friends. Look, all I'm saying is in a world where we got nothing, and I mean nothing to watch, there is a bunch of Korean, one Israeli, and I think one dude's from Spain playing for you right now, beating up on the New York Excelsior. So feel good about that.
And Philly Goldberg couldn't make this Overwatch team to represent.
He's in jail.
What?
Pretty
You got
sure.
Wi-Fi in jail? Come on, man.
It's restrictive.
Depends on if you're at Club Fed or not. I think Martha Stewart would have gotten Wi-Fi in the modern era. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh man, Devin, do we have anything up on our agenda? Or are we pulling into the train
Let's
station?
talk some draft stuff here.
Talk some
We'll just
draft.
real quick. We'll talk about some draft stuff and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
Here.
So
What draft?
we had the NFL draft, and
Oh,
I was, that was last week. Apparently, the Eagles did a thing or two, but I was thinking about that, and I was so happy to see the NFL draft. Just maybe because it's sports were coming back, or maybe it was just the pageantry of the draft, and it got me thinking. Even during this pandemic, I don't miss the MLS Super Draft. Just wanted to get an idea of what you guys thought.
all right. So to put to bed the conversation about the NFL draft, that was a really good release from the pandemic that also reminded me constantly that I was in a pandemic. So it was such a great distraction where every 2 minutes they were reminding me I was in a pandemic, and I was just like, I mean, cool, and like I want all the first responders to get their due, but I'm like, okay, that's awkward. Now we're getting.
You mean the
awkward.
6 fans behind Goodell didn't really do it for you?
Look, Roger Goodell at home needs to be every draft for here and forever because the progression of comfortableness Robert Goodell went through that night was a mood. Was an absolute mood. Like halfway through, he changes clothes into a sweater like
Oh,
Mr.
he was like Mr.
Rogers.
Rogers.
Yeah, right? And then he just gets this giant leather armchair, which this man makes like $20 million a year. So this armchair is made from like the finest cows of like Italy. And he just lays down and gives you like a bona fide crotch shot by like pick 30. And I'm like, yes, Roger. Yes. Feel this draft.
Two observations. One, Roger Goodell's basement looked like your grandmom's basement with that ugly paneling. Like he can't get like some sheetrock or something. And
I
then
want to know where
two-
he lives.
Yeah. And then two, it was funny because you were talking about the emotions that you're like, oh, this is a distraction from the pandemic. But then I was constantly reminded of it. I equated it to watching one of those Sarah McLachlan pet commercials
Oh
where
my
at first you're
God.
like, oh, this is great. And then at the end, you're almost bawling because of it. And that's what I thought watching the draft was like. I was like, what a cute puppy. Oh my God, they killed the puppy. And then she's singing that sad song.
And they came every angle with it too, because they came with you with they were like, hey, by the way, we're in a pandemic right now. The people in New York are all shut down and everyone's afraid. But here's like 6 doctors to do the Giants pick for you right now. I'm like, oh, well, bless those souls. And then you're just like, by the way, this guy's pick, yeah, his dad died helping someone on the side of the road during a car accident. His mom OD'd 2 years prior by an accidental syringe. His sister got carried away by like hawks one day. It was just like,
Oh yeah,
everything was
his
just like,
twin
what's
brother fell
going
in a
on?
well, and they had to
Right?
and
Like
that
his
was
dog was Lassie. It was so like I'm just like there's no like can I get a positive like this guy plays flute like can I get one of those?
Here's
like,
what I didn't get. They were all telling how bad and how tragic their lives were, but then you look in the background and I'm like, he looks like he's in a mansion. I didn't see one person living in a trailer. Were they renting
true.
Airbnbs, or were they getting
No,
a
they went
really
to the
good background zoom screen that looked like they were in like, or you're like, how are they living in these nice places? Like,
Tua's house. That house that Tua had, that is a real home.
yeah,
That is their real home, and you can tell that where Joe Burrow was, that was definitely his basement,
right.
in southeastern Ohio. The rest of these guys are just like you went to your uncle's house for that one.
Oh yeah.
You went to your uncle's house because if your story is to be believed, then this 7-bathroom home that you're sitting in for reasons I don't understand. Also, really, if we're going to talk about home, Cliff Kingsbury's Pornhub style, like straight up cocaine palace that he has somewhere in Arizona.
Devin
was my
just started
favorite thing in the
Googling.
universe.
Yeah,
Did
hold
you
on.
see this? Devin, look at this. Cliff Kingsbury's draft setup looks straight up out of Narcos. Like, you're just like, who has this pristine white home with these floor-to-ceiling windows? And it's just like what? Like, he just became a coach. Was Texas Tech paying him that much money?
The houses are cheap in Texas. I don't know, but I was judging the general managers harder than I was players and stuff on where they lived.
Sure.
I'm going, is he like in like a broom closet in his house? He's a GM. He should have some money. Like, and then other guys are on the lanai. You're like, whoa, that's very nice.
Right? No, my two favorites were Jerry Jones on his yacht, which looked like he was in a freaking he looked like he was in a movie theater. But like a really white movie theater for some particular reason.
Yeah, but
and
was
it was
he
like, he's on a
recycling
boat.
like?
You know what this looks like? This looks like a map from like Call of Duty.
Yes, Kingsbury. Yes, it looks like one of those giant houses where you could straight up run paintball through. Like he has if you put up obstacles in there, there would be sight lines. This is how big his home is.
Yeah.
This Kingsbury's house is incredible. But no, what I was saying is the greatest combination was you had Jerry Jones's yacht. With all of this, with the Cowboys embroidered on the side of this thing, and it's all this crisp white leather, and then you had Bill Belichick's Nantucket home.
Oh yeah,
and it looked like everyone's beach house home, where it's just like that little tiny room with this it's like if you had one of those shore houses, it looks like a regular ass shore house because you can't get a big house on Nantucket. It's a tiny ass island, but it's just like Bill Belichick's like, yeah, I went to Nantucket for this bitch. I ain't even staying on land. I'm not even going to the mainland. I'm all the way out to sea, right?
Now the other thing I was confused with Jerry Jones because he's on his yacht. Why did every other shot have a different middle-aged prostitute sitting next to him?
Wait.
There was that blonde, there was that brunette. Like, were they assistants? Were they from the Bob Kraft train? Like,
is he married?
No, he's married. He's married to Botox. He's not married.
He's got kids. Is he married?
He might have been married. I don't think Jerry married no more.
I don't know because I'm just like, does he have a wife? And where's Mrs. Jones? Is she okay?
Yeah, like I said, it was like every pick. I'm like, wait, I thought there was a middle-aged brunette next to him. Nope, it's a middle-aged blonde next to him. Oh, he just was bringing out accessories,
And because we were doing the drunk union thing during the beginning of this, I missed where they gave us the location of this yacht. But I'm like, Dallas is pretty landlocked. So where are you, Jerry?
He's probably
was he just in the Gulf of Mexico somewhere on this boat? I had several questions about that because I was thinking to myself yeah, if you lived in Houston, I could have maybe have gotten to the fact that you were on a boat somewhere. But you're in North Texas, so why are you? And you're from Arkansas, so where is this boat?
South Padre Island because it was spring break.
I feel like
$250 million yacht. That is the boat.
Whoa, I'm sorry, what?
The Miami area is where it's located. Port Miami.
So he was all right. So first off, he wasn't even in Texas. He was in Miami on his yacht, this cowboy decked out yacht that is worth more than the endowment of St. Joseph's University and LaSalle University combined. That's not even a joke. I looked up those endowments yesterday.
And somewhere Jimmy Johnson was probably on his fishing boat trying to torpedo Jerry Jones's mega yacht.
That's not a yacht. That's a home that also floats.
It's an apartment building.
That is more. That is not a
it's
boat
unnecessary.
anymore.
That's what that is.
You spent 9
You want to turn it down if you got it down
boat. 9 figures on a boat? What are you even doing? Where do you live otherwise? What
Romans
is
is nicer.
Like?
Roman's got a nicer yacht.
You have that, man. If you have that much money and you can't make the Cowboys win anything, how frustrating can that shit be, man?
Imagine being a player and trying to negotiate. What? It's like you own a fucking $250 million yacht and you don't want to give me $1 million more.
That's why they can't pay Dax. I'm all right with that.
Yeah, Dak Prescott's like, what do you mean you can't give me $300 million? What are we talking about?
So all right with that.
Well, I think Ryan Clark got on a couple years ago. No, it was Dominic Foxworth got on a couple years ago, and he was on the Lebitard show, and he said, I was negotiating with Jerry Jones. And I was just, and then, you get a lot of respect for these individuals because they're like all these titans of industry, and they have all this money, and they got all this clout and all this. And you're like, God, these guys got to be some of the smartest people in America. And then he just sat down with Jerry Jones, and he said, I am so much smarter than this man. I don't know how he has done this, but I am so much smarter.
One last thing about his boat here. It can accommodate 14 guests plus a crew of 30, which is 2 crew members per guest. And features amenities like a full-size gym, a spa, and 2 helipads. Because why?
So you can have,
why not one? You need 2.
You have a boat that you can put 45 people on that also has a gym and a spa. Look, man, capitalism is a mother. I don't know what to tell you.
Botox ain't easy to come by. You need helicopters of that crap coming in.
Yeah, I mean, look, he has. I think is Dallas still the most the highest rated sports team in the world in terms of profit margin or something? Like, are they the most valuable team in the world still?
Here's how I'm going to answer that for you in true spirit of this show.
Yeah,
Adam, get back to the Eagles.
Well, the 4th most profitable team in the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's not even talk about Jeffrey Lurie and his supposed yachts that we don't see. Jeffrey Lurie is actually very thankful for owners like Dan Snyder and Jerry Jones being in his own division, because then we don't see the ridiculousness that he gets into.
Oh yeah,
just being a weird philanthropist himself.
Yeah, well, he's on the I want to say him and Sugarman are the same, where Jeffrey had some money, bought a team, and now he became very, very rich. Where now Sugarman's had some money, and all of a sudden the value of MLS teams is getting higher and higher. And he's like, "Oh, this was a smart investment. I don't have to spend a lot of money, but I'm going good." So,
is it to the point, real quick? Is the most trusted owner in the city of Philadelphia Comcast?
Yes. I don't know. Ask any Flyers season ticket holder whose tickets have constantly went up every year. I don't know if
I mean, I'm looking at this right now. I'm just is that the number one ownership group right now? Is the Roberts family in Comcast? Because I'm like, everyone hates Josh Harris. He looks like a complete buffoon after this entire pandemic thing. We've already had our thoughts on Jay Sugarman, well documented. Jeffrey Lurie, we kind of accept him, I guess, but he's also weird as hell. And who am I forgetting? The Middletons, or all those, not Middleton, but the guys who own the Phillies, also weird as hell.
Well, I guess that would leave it to the owners of your Philadelphia Fusion team,
who are also Comcast Spectacor.
There you go.
Because the Flyers own the Fusion. The number one team in the city right now at a 9-1 record. Best team in the world.
Devin, we got to end this before I jump out of a window, man. I'm telling you.
What? Hold on.
When we get back, Adam, when this gets back to normal, you and I are going to go to one of these Fusion things at the Met.
Oh, yeah. I've actually wanted to go for a while.
I don't want to go, but I'm going to go.
I'm going to guarantee you're going to have a good time. I'm promising you now, you're going to have, especially a much better time than you would expect it, but you're going to have a right time. It is the Cowboys.
Guarantee. That's a big guarantee.
The Cowboys are still the most valuable team in the world at $5 billion.
That right behind Tottenham.
Explains the Yacht.
Tottenham's following up.
Well, everyone can thank the most profitable moment in racism ever, which was Donald Sterling talking about Magic Johnson, and then Adam Silver forcing him to sell his team, then somehow making the Clippers worth $2 billion. So then every other sporting franchise in the world was like, well, if the Clippers are $2 billion, the Yankees are just like, well, please pay us every bit of dollar you've ever given us. We're now a $4 billion franchise. What do you mean? The most profitable racist moment in the history of America. And really the world, honestly.
Not sure if that's the most racist moment in the whole history.
There were some
not
things
in the 1700s, 1800s that happened, Adam.
I'm saying the most fiscally profitable racist moment in the history of possibly the world is when you made the Clippers a $300 million franchise worth $2 billion overnight.
Right now, the whole cotton industry is going, thanks, Adam.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Look, if you charge for inflation...
We have got to end this before we all go to jail. But this is turning into a Mel Brooks film.
The socioeconomics of the cotton gin cannot be undercut.
Oh, guys. Boy. It's always good to see you guys on the camera. It's good hearing from you. Of course, we got to thank Jamie Lynch Jr. for being a guest on this. I'm sure eventually he's gonna hear this thing and go, "What did I get involved with now?" But no, I wanted to thank him and looking forward to bringing him out and getting that 60 seconds of soccer put on 97.5 The Fanatic. Can't wait for that. That's gonna be gold, Jerry, gold.
Look, man, when we get back, they will be so starved for content, they might even give us a full 120.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll take 90 seconds, man. 90 seconds.
Split the difference.
I'll
I
take
feel you on that one.
30. Give me 30.
Look, man,
Anything is better than
don't
nothing
you
right now.
undersell us, Devin. All right, we already got a 60 established. Don't say we'll work for less now.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot, and everybody out there, stay safe and wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Sexy season.